on, Nervylette. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will need more than that to convict me of a crime.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
O sea que entonces es verdad, no es un arconte. Bueno, no digas nada. Pues qué guay. Es que está, a ver. Es que no sé. Cuando se la encontró la Arlequino y cae al suelo medio llorando. Y luego también es verdad, en ningún momento se le ha visto usar los poderes. No, y. No, es que no. O sea, y lo ves al lado de los cuadros y dices. No sé. Es como. Más bien parece alguien que se está haciendo pasar por no sé si para proteger al arconte. No sé.
Como dice uno de TikTok, sigue viendo.
We were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking her duty, but
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah. Even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina can be super...
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since the... See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will... If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making...
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only refute Farina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. If you believe I'm and if I was not the Archon, then how did I manage to live for over 500...
Es que no sé, dice, ¿por qué ha podido Furina vivir tanto tiempo a pesar de ser humana? Aquí solo me dice, cuando lo condenaron de manera injusta a Tartas, cuando ésta la cuestionó si realmente era el arconte, si tiene algún tipo de maldición. Y esto es de que la profecía ocurrirá. O sea, lo más lógico sería esto. Que la mujer está dio con la clave, tiene alguna maldición o algo que le permite vivir muchos años, ¿no? Voy a elegir esto.
No sé.
First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan. And
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
Neverlet sensed it too, huh?
Lady Farina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That for centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the Indemnitium.
You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused as all the rest of—
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans.
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against—
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operation. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been—
The real Hydro Archon. Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave, but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. And it has been operating independent. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that—
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience.
Qué excusa más barata. Esta no es el Arcón. Vaya timo, ¿no?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the—
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives.
Isn't that a huge stretch?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Please, you've got to believe—
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a great—
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And then all of our ancestors?
Enough! That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is?
Nada.
¿Está chula?
Sí, sí.
Ya está, no me juzgues.
Te juzgo si me sale del pito.
Pequeñito, pequeño.
Sí, voy a apretar cerita como una perra.
Tú eres imbécil, ¿no? Tú eres retrasado.
No.
A ver.
You have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such. Then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now?
Ya. Pero se demostraría que el arconte es este tío. No sé, es que ya estoy dudando, no sé. Sí, nos dijo que no sé. Pero es que no hay otra cosa. Para demostrar que es humana. Que no tiene sentido lo que me ha desbloqueado. No tiene sentido. Lo único es este. Que no demostraría que es humana, pero sí demostraría que entonces el arconte es este tío. Bueno, si eso es verdad, entonces no me perdió el arconte de Hidro. Bueno, no me voy a dar a ver. Hostia, ¿te lo imaginas? Y tengo el arconte de Hidro y no lo sabía. No. Entonces no lo entiendo. ¿Qué pruebas pueden demostrar que Furina es humana? ¿Este? O sea, que este... ¿Qué tiene que ver este? ¿Y por qué esto? No entiendo. Nada, voy a hacerlo por eliminación. Esto no demuestra que sea humana, en absoluto, no tiene nada que ver. Y este tampoco demuestra que sea humana. Bueno. Ella era la acusación y estaba todo el rato acusándola sin pruebas ni nada. Este demostraría que es humano.
Pero que tienes que...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to...
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court.
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago, taking many lives.
Claro, si es la arconte, si le echase en el agua, no le haría nada, porque es la arconte. Pero, si es humana, pues así lo demostraría, ¿no? Y no permite que le echen el agua, es humana. No le queda otra.
Including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Farina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us. Would she really dare to try?
El problema es que si lo toque y no le pasa nada, entonces no entiendo. Pero algo me dice que no lo va a hacer.
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings.
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really does.
What's going on? Is she really planning to... that's not what we thought.
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may...
What?
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here! I haven't been dissolved!
Ya, pero entonces no entiendo. ¿Y por qué está tan asustada? No sé.
Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon! I'm
No lo
nothing
sé.
like a normal human.
Miss Siegewin? If you're present, Miss Siegewin, please come...
Siegewin?
Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina, you may
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. We don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
¿Me estás diciendo que sabía que eso podía pasar igualmente la he hecho?
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low concentration. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't believe... Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an Archon... Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just... Please, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's...
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is... guilty.
Pobrecita.
Ya.
We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
No, the Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice?
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness.
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah, even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Lo que yo creo es que no la están sentenciando a ella, sino al Arcón Seguidor original, creo.
Is the trial still going? Fremine! You finally made it. I assume this means you've completed... Any mission Father assigns to me.
¿Cómo está claro que es un chico?
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing...
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. But has the trial already concluded? Then... doesn't that mean I've come too late?
Pobrecito.
Thank you for your hard
Ya,
work,
por lo
Mr.
menos tiene voz de
Fremine.
chico, no como...
Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates.
A mí lo que no me gusta es que hable Paimon, ¿sabes? O sea, coño, para el pota, prota.
Ya.
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina, and we've... so when you say Hydro Archon, do you...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Ocean... Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But the heavens still brought judgment down upon... This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea, surrounded by many people? Huh. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throat. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after the...
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater, and the first stone slate tells us that long ago, the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans. This might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
Es que en realidad solo hablan directos. O sea, cuando hacen directos los de Genshin, habla más ahí que en otro sitio.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervalette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates. It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
Aquí estoy entre esta y la de los jueces.
Ay. Pues yo creo recordar que en esta en alguna fallé. Pero bueno.
Yo estoy de 50-50. En el que la bruja dice que la profecía no se puede evitar, aunque haya esperanza. Y
la de Novil.
Y la del juez. Pudo evitar temporalmente que el agua saliese.
No sé, yo estaría de la taza a lo mejor.
El tartas está descartado y de hecho ni más. Tartas no sé, no tiene...
Yo diría la taza. Diría, no lo sé.
A ver, ya. Si no es la taza, obviamente por eliminación sería este.
That doesn't sound quite right.
Ah, bueno.
Pues entonces este.
Pues he fallado. Mira, pues puede ser que
from the
no
stone slates found its way into society. But not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meripede was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The stone slate's content can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truth should come to... Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it, but then it feels like we're going to have to share some truth.
Let's hear them.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis.
Hombre, a ver, humanos son. Los que no lo eran serán los primeros, que creo, obviamente. Se supone.
The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial. All...
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's
the Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of...
Yeah! Isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be... Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, however, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the
Well?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not possess the authority to create a new form of not one to give in, She eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanid's blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into...
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating...
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are human. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled.
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deduction about the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater, however, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that as for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
Pues qué guay. Ah, espérate, que este es el boss.
Sí.
Ahora lo entiendo. Vamos, que nos vamos bien enfrentar. Muy bien.
Ay, pobrecita.
Vamos, que vamos a ir a rescatarlo, básicamente, ¿no?
Y nosotros no vamos a hacer eso.
How did that thing just burst into the opera house? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically... Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will... We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is...
Indeed. That's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden... Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in...
No, una captura timidilla para esto. Que me dejas en paz.
Pero que no he dicho nada, coño.
What's happening with the aura trees?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina! No, I still need answers.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing.
You are not Farina. Who are you?
Ah, the sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success.
Focalors. Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. The heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at... So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, but one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I...
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by each...
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my... The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, she could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly... Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Arc, in order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalors' divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera
But Farina is only human. Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of... I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, it's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely.
Otra captura de ella. A ver, si tuviera Steam para hacer capturas, pero como no tiene la asquerosa de Epic. Que es cáncer, Epic.
Creo que en Epic también se pueden hacer capturas, ¿no?
Cáncer.
Ya, no digo nada.
Van a ser las 9.
Ya ahí.
No tienen nada que hacer eso.
Ahora me voy.
Yo lo digo porque si no te das cuenta.
Que sí.
Oh, who permitted you to come onto this stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I must ask you to keep to the rule. All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not... Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must, at all times, display the Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon enough.
No, my sword! Huh? Propagate! Frost is coming!
Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Germinate! Here!
Farina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid. I am before you.
Wait a moment. You're near me? How can this be?
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad.
Mirror me. What do you wish to say?
The prophecy. Have you heard of it?
What prophecy? Wait. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain.
Oh, very good.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly.
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will come to Fontaine sooner.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontanian just like them.
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Good. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that but if the prophecy will come true, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side, and my pain on the other.
You truly are the perfect human. I suppose this would also be the justice that
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But should your identity be revealed...
But how will I do this?
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into a real god. Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such... Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing
I'm still not sure I understand. But so, how long am I going to have to play?
To accomplish this mission, you will have to stay on the stage for but I promise you, all will eventually...
A trial, huh? How exciting.
Soy una linda nenita. Mira qué piernas más sexys tengo.
Man. Pues como era.
The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession, but this is my first time. What should I say to most appear like a god? To be honest, I still don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome. I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. Indeed, in truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor as the god Focalor, the god of justice. I shall do all within my power to lead you in. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future of this should do it. I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able.
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity would be...
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest.
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just...
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being right? Mirmi said that I just need to play the calm down, Farina. Think, assertive, with a strong sense of presence. One who can dispel all doubt. Oh, very good, my people. Only ones such as you are deserving of... Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and claim ownership. Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was a debut that suited the atmosphere. Now then, let us be reintroduced.
Ah, so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were in...
A personality? It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before.
Sí, vamos, que tiene que demostrar ser prepotente, sin sentimientos y fría.
Such a fascinating and bold deity.
Básicamente.
How wonderful! Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, we have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is the scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fairness and justice. And may law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and... There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. All that is needed is so long as I, the Archon Focalor, stand within the Opera Epiclese, so long as I stand before the Oratrice!
Bueno. ¿Qué es esto?
Puta. Bueno, rico.
Vale, menos mal que pude parar. A ver, vamos a seguir porque si no... ¿Aunque tienes que irte?
Lady Farina, here are today's case reports as well as a summary of the follow-up for your perusal.
Come now, was I not just at the Opera House in person? Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking...
If I may be so impertinent, what kind of
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial. A trial to end all things.
That's true. I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought, Lady Archon.
No need for fright, and do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now, do your duties. The
Lady Farina, I don't know what to say. Thank you for agreeing to see me.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of Oh, I'm afraid that's... All right. Deoteria, is it? How is your son's illness?
You remembered me, and you knew of my family, too.
Vale, eso ya me están molestando a las 9 de la mañana.
He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an ardent believer than I. He was the one who forced me to seek an audience with you.
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen again in the future, please do not hesitate to come.
You're such a gentle and wise God. Thank you once again. On behalf...
Sí, vamos, que por mucho que fingiese, demostraba no ser el verdadero Arcon. Está demasiado bondadosa y todo eso, ¿sabes lo que quiero decir?
A ver, y eso, y creo, y si no tiene poderes, pues claro. No, no sé.
Lady Farina,
¿Qué son lo que no
here are
entiendo?
the
O
latest
sea, sale en el
hydrological
banner y el
reports.
personaje tiene... No sé.
As
Bueno, no
for
digan nada.
the specific parameters you asked to take note of, I'm afraid things still don't look good.
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but I want all manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to pass. Forget it. That's not...
Well, as I understand it, the Fontaine Research Institute...
Really? Have they found anything?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective...
Oh, is that so? Well, no wonder. The day is finally over. I haven't had a moment to breathe this, but it's good to see that everything's getting on track. Maybe this is fine. I just need... All right, Farina, don't think too hard.
Lady Farina, here are the new trial reports for the latest cases, as well...
There'll be no need for that.
Lady Farina, I've waited so...
Indeed, my dear loyal citizen. This...
Vamos, que se lo va subiendo.
Lady Farina, we're detecting significant hydrological anomalies near Post...
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed. I don't think I let anything slip today. I just don't... I feel utterly exhausted.
Lady Farina, it's like a dream being able to speak. I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with you was Madame.
And what a fine family yours is indeed.
Surely you accept...
What is it, good citizen?
Oh, are you crying?
Uh-huh. This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the god who's...
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power.
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. Perhaps the show must go. I never imagined that it would hurt so much. Have I reached my limit? I want to tell someone, anyone, about this. But I've conducted so many investigations across the century. All I can do is keep heart. I must maintain this act. It is the...
Farina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this—
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, just share it with me.
A witness. Yes, I've heard, and if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on— If that— He's right. I could confide in him, couldn't I? But if things don't play out as expected, No, Farina. You shouldn't be selfish. But what if... Farina, you've worked so hard for so... Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone in whom you can confide. If you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, think about it. Long and hard. No, I have nothing to say. I am Farina. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my performance.
Fine.